Number 5.
I like Philadelphia. Lane Johnson, Jalen Carter coming back. The band is back together. There's only 2 teams in the league, the Rams are one, Philly's the other, that are top 5 in red zone offense and red zone defense. That's Philadelphia. I may not always love their coach, but I got the Eagles at 5.
All right, let's dive into the Philadelphia Eagles, folks. This is a topic I feel compelled to explore in greater depth. It's interesting to note the evolution in perspective. Not long ago, the prevailing sentiment in some circles was one of skepticism. A lack of trust in this Eagles squad, doubts about their legitimacy, a caution not to be misled by victories over inferior opponents. I addressed similar themes when constructing my league hierarchy. Now, following a stretch where they have indeed handled those very opponents, the narrative is shifting toward appreciation for the team's composition and potential. This pivot is fascinating to me, and I'd like to use it not as a final judgment, but as a foundational point for a broader discussion. When we survey the entire landscape of the league's top-tier teams and attempt to situate the Eagles within that framework, one conclusion feels inescapable. With the offensive roster talent they possess, if they can simply achieve competence, no, let's aim higher excellence in their offensive scheming and play calling, they immediately transform into the most formidable contender in the tournament. They become the squad you should regard with the utmost apprehension. Now, please note the crucial conditional clause, if they get the offensive coaching right. I am not asserting that, at this precise moment, they inspire the highest degree of confidence. That is a separate assertion. My claim is about inherent, latent potential. The chasm between their current operational efficacy and their ceiling is defined almost exclusively by the coordination and creativity emanating from the sideline. This leads me to what has been one of my most persistent and unequivocal convictions over the years: the paramount, non-negotiable importance of high-level coaching. The significance of this element cannot be overstated. It's actually somewhat fitting that this Eagles reflection is happening now. I had officially concluded my video production for the evening. It's approaching 1 a.m., technically Christmas Eve. I was in the process of tidying my workspace, putting away notebooks and pens, when this entire Eagles analysis began formulating in my mind with such clarity. The thought emerged, I should make this video right now. A rational counter-argument followed. You've already disconnected your equipment. Your headphones are off. It's late. It's a holiday. Give it a rest. Yet, the urge to articulate this perspective felt urgent. The audience needs to hear this, I reasoned. Then, another idea intruded. I've been wanting to produce a comprehensive piece on Jalen Hurts, particularly in response to his placement on a certain analyst's quarterback mountain, where he was ranked behind Dak Prescott, Caleb Williams, and others. That notion irked me significantly. Maybe I should make that video instead, I pondered. But that endeavor is a different beast. It requires a deep dive into data sets, the creation of custom graphics and comparative charts, a process that is meticulous and time-intensive. Commencing that project at this hour would guarantee being awake until 3 a.m. or later. It's not a matter of simple copy-pasting. It's a synthesis of information into a coherent visual and narrative argument. Furthermore, posting such a labor-intensive video on Christmas Eve raises questions about viewer engagement. Would anyone even be watching? So, I made a decision. The Jalen Hurts analytical deep dive is slated for Saturday. I want to ensure it receives the attention it warrants. I've made a note to myself. The data gathering must commence. For now, the immediate task is to articulate the Eagles' thesis that is so vividly occupying my thoughts. And this thesis, interestingly, circles back to the exact sentiment I held entering this season. I recall, back in the late spring and summer months of May, June, and July, as the new campaign drew nearer, being repeatedly asked, "What is your outlook on the Eagles this year? Can they repeat?" My stance was always consistent, mirroring my view on the Chiefs' repeat chances. I've never framed a team's ambition as a binary repeat or fail proposition. The concept of a Super Bowl window is often discussed in overly dramatic, open or shut terms. My perspective is more of a timeline or an era. For the Eagles, it's about maximizing a core of extraordinary talent. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Hassan Reddick, Lane Johnson, et al., over a multi-year span. The goal isn't necessarily back-to-back titles, though that would be spectacular. The realistic, yet ambitious aspiration is to secure at least 2 championships with this group. Securing one feels almost like a prerequisite given the talent. Securing 2 solidifies a legacy. Venturing into a third title conversation enters the realm of historical rarity, the territory of dynasties. Let's be honest. If winning 3 Super Bowls with a core were commonplace, legends like Peyton Manning would have several more. Players of the caliber of Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson are desperately seeking their first. To demand a third from this Eagles core, at this juncture, ventures into the territory of excessive greed. 2 is the hallmark of a truly realized, dominant era. However, my preseason confidence was tempered by a significant, glaring unknown. I was very vocal about this. I stated repeatedly, I do not know who Kevin Patullo is in terms of what he can architect for the Philadelphia Eagles offense, and that makes me profoundly uncomfortable. My philosophy has always been coaching, coaching, coaching. The transition from Shane Steichen to Brian Johnson, and now to Patullo's influence, represented a massive variable. I expressed this lack of confidence openly. I encountered similar pushback when discussing the Detroit Lions, another team undergoing an offensive coordinator change. I told Lions fans I believed they would take a step back, not a cliff dive, but a discernible step. Losing a mind like Ben Johnson, I argued, would have tangible consequences. To bolster my credibility on such matters, I would point to my Eagles commentary. Look, no one can accuse me of being an Eagles hater or a doubter of their talent. I am as pro-Eagles as it gets regarding their player personnel. Yet, I am expressing the same type of uncertainty here because of the coaching variable. In hindsight, both takes have been validated by the on-field product. The Lions have struggled with offensive and defensive coordination. The Eagles' issues have been primarily, though not exclusively, offensive in nature. Look around the league, and the impact of sharp, innovative coaching is unmistakable in pivotal moments. Consider a sequence from the Jacksonville Jaguars under Liam Cohen. They approached the line of scrimmage against the Denver Broncos and snapped the ball immediately. The entire operation was pre-scripted choreography. The center's delayed arrival, the synchronized movement, designed to catch the defense misaligned. It worked to perfection, buying Trevor Lawrence an extra second of pristine protection. That singular play was a coaching masterclass. Sean McVay's dissection of the Seattle Seahawks, using the run game to dictate terms and create easy, explosive passing opportunities, was a schematic masterpiece. The Chicago Bears, under their new regime, delivered a breathtaking offensive performance against these very Eagles, a performance I dedicated an entire video to dissecting, specifically highlighting their run game ingenuity. That level of coherent, imposing, strategic offensive identity has been conspicuously absent from the Eagles for much of this season. However, and this is the critical turning point over these past couple of games, an undeniable shift has occurred. For the first time, we are witnessing a genuine, concerted effort to solve the systemic problems that have plagued them. This is distinct from last season, where issues were perhaps masked by talent, and certainly distinct from the early part of this year, where solutions seemed elusive. Now, they are actively implementing adjustments. Are they perfect? No. The incorporation of dynamic players like Tank Bigsby could be more frequent. Greg Olson, among other analysts, is practically begging them to utilize Jalen Hurts from under center more often, to diversify the run game and play action looks. They haven't fully embraced that yet, but the progress is tangible. Hurts is leveraging his mobility more assertively. The route concepts for A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are displaying more variety and effectiveness. The play-action game is finally generating the explosive plays it's designed to create. You can see the benefits. You can chart the progress. They have a game or two remaining to refine this newfound approach before the tournament begins. And this brings us to the paramount, lingering concern for the Philadelphia Eagles. Does anyone have a concrete idea of how Kevin Patullo will perform in calling his first ever playoff game? His debut playoff matchup as the primary offensive architect could very well be against Sean McVay and the Los Angeles Rams in the deafening cauldron of Lincoln Financial Field with 70,000 fans riding every play. What happens then? What is his contingency plan when the initial script is countered? This question evokes the immense value of experience, which someone like Kellen Moore possessed. Recall the Eagles' playoff victory over the Green Bay Packers last season. it was an ugly, low-scoring, defensively driven affair. The Eagles' offense was hardly prolific. At one point, late in the first half with the Eagles in control, they ran a conservative play to manage the clock, and the home crowd booed lustily. Tom Brady, in the broadcast booth, immediately defended the decision. He understood the calculus. You are winning. Your defense is dominating. There is zero reason to force a risky play and jeopardize that control. That was elite game management from both the quarterback and the play caller. People often downplay Jalen Hurts' performance in that game because the passing yardage was modest. But that game was an absolute masterclass in situational management. Every decision, from play call to execution, was calibrated to minimize risk and maximize the probability of victory. A single turnover could have been catastrophic, and they avoided it meticulously. I frequently reference that game when discussing young quarterbacks like Jordan Love. It exemplifies the playoff mindset. It's not always about heroic throws. Sometimes it's about ruthless, intelligent stewardship of the game. A play caller must possess that same temperament. So the question for Kevin Patullo is twofold. Can he manage a high-stakes playoff game with the required poise and strategic patience? And beyond mere management, can he design a specific attack-oriented game plan that proactively dismantles an opponent like the Bears or the Rams? Where does the confidence in that ability stem from? I am optimistic based on the recent trends. I am hopeful. I have praised the visible improvements as vocally as possible. Yet, a degree of unease remains. It's an uncomfortable but realistic position. I am utterly fascinated to see how this unfolds because, from a pure roster and talent perspective, they are unquestionably there. The ingredients for a championship run are present. We know Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown elevate in big moments. We know Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, and Landon Dickerson form an elite offensive line foundation. We know Hassan Reddick and Jalen Carter can wreck a game plan. Jalen Hurts has demonstrated a preternatural calm in high-leverage situations. The oft-overused ice in his veins descriptor genuinely applies. Saquon Barkley remains a threat to erupt on any given touch. And yet, all of this prodigious talent requires a conductor. It requires the coaching staff to synthesize these elements into a coherent, adaptable, and potent whole. Look at the Jaguars' statement win over the Broncos. You could see Liam Cohen's fingerprints all over the game plan. Can we point to a single Eagles victory this season and say, with conviction, that win was a direct product of superior coaching? We can identify losses where coaching was a deficit, but a victory authored by schematic brilliance? That evidence has been sparse. To me, this remains the single biggest question mark hovering over the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a frustrating predicament, because when you possess a roster this talented and a coaching staff operating at an elite level, the feeling of championship inevitability is palpable. The Eagles have one half of that equation in abundance. The other half is a work in progress. There's also an intriguing subplot. If the Eagles find themselves in a playoff dogfight where the scripted plan falters, is there a point where Jalen Hurts adopts a Thanos mentality? Fine, I'll do it myself. Could he simply take over? It's harder to project. While Hurts is a phenomenal athlete and playmaker, his style isn't analogous to Josh Allen's, who can physically overwhelm defenders as a runner. Hurts' success is more intricately tied to operating within the system's structure, even when extending plays. He relies on receivers winning downfield and the line maintaining pockets. Furthermore, we must remember that even for quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, or Patrick Mahomes, the I'll-do-it-myself approach is not a sustainable playoff-winning formula. We romanticize the highlight reel scrambles, but their playoff victories are built on a foundation of team execution. Travis Kelce making a contested catch, Andy Reid dialing up the perfect play at the perfect moment, Steve Spagnuolo's defense securing a critical stop. You need it all. You need the complete ecosystem. The Eagles are in a fascinating, albeit peculiar position. They are undeniably building momentum. Yes, it's been built against struggling opponents, but the quality of their execution during this stretch has been undeniably high. The coaching, at least recently, appears to be trending in a positive direction. Perhaps Nick Sirianni's increased involvement or evolution as an offensive mind is proving beneficial. A contrast to past seasons where such involvement was sometimes seen as a hindrance. This is the confusing, yet potentially promising dichotomy of this Eagles team. When you survey the landscape of other top AFC and NFC contenders, the Eagles' roster experience stands out. Consider the quarterbacks they might face. Josh Allen, no Super Bowl. Brock Purdy, no Super Bowl. CJ Stroud, no Super Bowl. Bo Nix, no Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence, no Super Bowl. Caleb Williams, no Super Bowl. Many of these players haven't even won multiple playoff games in a single postseason run. Among the likely elite quarterbacks in the tournament, only Matthew Stafford and Jalen Hurts have won a Super Bowl. And only Jalen Hurts, along with a significant contingent of his teammates, has been to multiple Super Bowls. That is a tangible, psychological advantage. Puka Nacua, for all his brilliance, has never experienced that stage. The advantages are there, ripe for the taking. The question is, can the Eagles coaching staff, the men drawing up the plays, making the in-game adjustments, managing the clock and emotions, seize those advantages? That responsibility falls not on the players' shoulders in this specific context, but unequivocally on the coaches. The players have shown they have the mettle. Now we wait to see if the strategic architecture can match that fortitude. Be on the lookout for my forthcoming Jalen Hurts analytical video, which I plan to post on Saturday. It will require considerable effort to compile, but I believe it's a necessary discussion. It's always a slight pang when you invest hours into data-driven content and the engagement isn't there, but such is the nature of this space. I remain immensely grateful for every viewer. To the Eagles fans, enjoy this holiday period riding high. You have the privilege of debating your team's Super Bowl chances around the dinner table. Keep me posted on those family debates. But now, I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, whether you agree or disagree. Let's get some discussions going. Let's have those passionate exchanges. But ultimately, let's share in the fun of this sport. Please consider subscribing if you're new. We're building a phenomenal community here, and I'd love for you to be part of it. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it genuinely helps with visibility and allows us to keep this conversation growing. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.